All right, Ian, a couple of things we need to hit. Let's first jump into the quarterback stuff. So, Derek Carr, the visit, the Saints, obviously, I would think, that means New Orleans and Vegas has agreed upon comp, which if Carr wants to sign there, he can. But the first step was agreeing on comp. How serious do you think he is there? He's been connected to Carolina. This could impact the Jets. Carr right now with the Saints. Where are we at?
First of all, small clarification. They did not agree on comp. They basically have what is essentially the framework of a deal. So it's like, if you were to do this trade, would you be willing to give this much? And it's like, yeah, that's around what we'd be willing to give. Okay, well, if that's the case, so it's not like done deal. Carr just needs, there's plenty of things that need to be sorted out. But obviously the Saints are the front runner. He has spent the last day and a little bit there. I think he's still there, actually. Going to leave shortly, but I think still there. And there's a lot to like. I mean, it's a team willing to give up a draft pick for him. As far as I know right now, that is the only team that has permission to speak with him, which would make me think it is the only team right now that has jumped down to, all right, this is a guy we would trade for.
Okay.
He needs to give his okay and, needs to figure out, does he want to do this because he has a no trade clause? But obviously, I'd say New Orleans is considered to be, at the front of the line for Derek Carr.
Good clarification on the comp because we weren't sure about that. That's good intel right there. Okay, so assuming that you're right, and with this stuff, you almost always are. To me, and I know it's not easy, and I know it's not even technically legal. And now we pivot to Rodgers here, who's my number one target for the Jets, and most people would agree with that. I don't understand how the Jets can't, on some level, get a signal from his rep, from somebody that knows him. Like, on the most cursory level, don't you think the Jets have to have a sense as to whether or not Rodgers likes the Jets?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's some back channel conversations or some, someone can bump into someone and say, like, yeah, maybe this is something you'd want to explore. And I think you could probably do it without violating anything. And information is what makes this whole thing go. So I would imagine somehow, some way the Jets can get the right information to know, like, if we pursue this guy, would he be interested? Rodgers, obviously, as you know, is in a dark hole right now. Not emotionally, but actually, he is trying to figure out what he wants to do. He still says he could retire. It seems far-fetched to me. It'd be $60 million he'd be giving up. But if anybody would give it up, it'd be him. And still needs to figure out if he wants to get traded. If he does want to get traded, then I would imagine the Packers would work with him. And then it'd be like, who would you want to get traded to? He doesn't have a no-trade clause, but he's not going to go anywhere he doesn't want to go. So I think so many dominoes still need to happen. But yeah, I mean, before they do a big thing, the Jets are going to know, like, all right, like, is this actually reality?
Yeah, and the other side of this with the Green Bay Packers is, what do they do if Aaron Rodgers is no longer there? And Jordan Love's name keeps getting brought up. Some people are saying, hell, forget Aaron Rodgers. Let's bring Jordan Love to the New York Jets. What is their thought on Jordan Love? What is the league's thought on Jordan Love?
Well, the league's thought has changed dramatically. It really has. I mean, everyone knew he was going to be a bust 2 years ago, and then he actually played, and then you're like, ooh, you know what? Looks kind of good. Turns out that developing someone and keeping them and having them learn your system and having them practice hard and all that really helps you become a good quarterback, which is interesting. So I know the league sort of thinks that he's someone who could be a starter. We don't truly know how good he is because, as you guys know, when the lights come on, things can happen. Players can become different. You can change. You can not perform as well. You can get to all that. So all those things about Jordan Love, we do not know. For me, it would be hard to imagine the Packers would trade him, though. I mean, you can trade anyone, and at some point, then offers too much, you have to do it. But I would be surprised because let's just say Rodgers comes back to Green Bay, but just for 1 year. Well, the answer to the riddle is in your locker room. It's the next quarterback. So what price could someone possibly give that would send you off into the wilderness looking for a quarterback when you actually have one? So I'm sure it would not be great for Jordan Love, but that would be probably his reality, just to wait.
Yeah, and it feels like there's so many moving parts right now that if you're the Jets, it's the most unenviable position to be in because it feels like, hey, we could get Aaron Rodgers, we're probably not going to get Derek Carr at this point, or we could be stuck with Zach Wilson again, right? It feels like the Jets should be feeling really good about this offseason, but in actuality, it's kind of trepidatious if you think about it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And that's why, look, Zach Wilson has not worked out yet. We'll see what he ends up being, but I think it's obvious nothing good has been there yet. This is why it's so important. If you're going to draft, top 2, top 5, top 10, you got to get your guy, because if you don't, you end up in this spot. And, the Jets are a really interesting spot. They have a good roster. They have really good playmakers. I think the offensive line is going to be really good. And that would probably be a focus this year, would be my guess. So all of the things are good, except for the quarterback position, which is the most important. And on one hand, it's an attractive spot for some quarterback. On the other hand, when you go into free agency without one, you don't know what you're going to come up with. You don't. So, yeah, it's a very nervy offseason.
Yeah, which is why it's so important for the Giants to retain Daniel Jones. Let's jump into this. And, of course, Ian Rapoport's with us here on The Fan. Teague and I were talking about a story yesterday. SNY had a couple of anonymous executives kind of earmarked Jones in that $35 to $37 million a year category. It's interesting. He did play well. I'm not saying he's not worth it, but it's a lot of money. So, number one, do you agree with those broad parameters, okay, financially? And number two, is there a team out there that might just make some crazy move for Jones that you can maybe identify to try to lure him away from the Giants?
Theoretically, yes. But I would say the timing might make it difficult, because let's say the Giants get a deal done for Saquon before the franchise tag deadline. Let's just say that happens, which I would imagine is a goal. They just tag Daniel Jones and they say, everybody back off. We'll figure this out now or later, or at July 15th or at some point, but he's ours. And I think that's best case scenario. And that's why with all the Daniel Jones talk, Saquon has leverage too, because whether or not he gets a deal done really has pretty dramatic ramifications. I would say this on Daniel Jones, the value. Yeah. If he could get 35, 37 million, I would say that's great. The problem for him is, would he want to agree to anything long-term? He's kind of scratching the surface. He's just becoming pretty good. A one-year deal, a short-term deal, something limited might make sense for him, because let's say in 2 years he becomes a top 10 quarterback. Certainly possible. He's talented. He's not going to want to be locked in on a long-term deal.
Yeah, you're right. He's got to protect himself for when he actually gets really good under, obviously Brian Dable, but maybe not Mike Kafka. Mike Kafka is down to the final 2 with Lou Anarumo out in Arizona, and Wink is obviously still in this convoluted, whatever you want to call it, head coach shorts in Indianapolis. But the likelihood of them losing one is, I think, getting higher and higher as this thing goes on. If Mike Kafka goes to the Cardinals, let's just say they want an offensive coach to help Kyler Murray. What is Brian Dable's plan B? Right? I know Shea Tierney's there. We talked about it last week, but we trust that he has it. But what do you think it actually is going to be?
I would imagine Shea Tierney figures prominently. He's a good young coach. He is young, but I heard really good things about his interview with the Tampa Bay Bucks for their offensive coordinator position. I don't know. I'm not 100% because it is tough I'm not in the room and it's tough to know. And with a quarterback coach, we don't see the work that he does. We just see how the quarterback plays,
Yeah.
But I would imagine he'd be a consideration for offensive coordinator. And then, Brian Daboll has called plays. I think he would like to not, but he has called plays before. So to me, I would imagine one of his possibilities is promote Shea Tierney, have him learn. Daboll calls the plays for a year, and then maybe turn it over, something like that. But, that's the goal of all this thing. And that's why, the Bills have it really rolling now. Is what you want is for people to take your guys, you bump up the next guy, you teach him, you develop, you get someone else in behind him, and you get ready for that. And then not only do you have a good program, but you also have new ideas. I think that helps as well.
Yeah, but let me ask you this, though. Do the Bills really have it rolling the way some people think that they do? I know that Dorsey got elevated, but Josh Allen regressed. He threw a ton of red zone picks. I don't know that they have it rolling. They almost lost to the Dolphins.
Yeah, to get there, I know they lost. But to get there and to consistently get there is so hard. Like, there's not that many teams that get to that level year after year. And I know they haven't really won the big, not really. I know they have not won the big one yet. But to me, like, that's where you want to get. You want to get where the Chiefs are, and the Chiefs are a different level. The Bengals are, the Bills are. You want to get to a point where every year, 49ers, same thing. Every year, you're going to have a chance, and you play a little better than you did the year before. You could be in the title game, and then you could be in the Super Bowl. Like, they got a chance. So, yeah, I mean, to me, that is a place where a lot of teams would love to get to.
So you talk about winning the big one, and we're obviously down to 2. Is the town more red? Is the town more green? Where's the who's repping more?
Seems to be more Eagles fans, definitely. I was at media night, opening night, whatever you call it. Opening night, I guess, is the actual name. And Mahomes was getting booed.
What?
And I'm like, wow. What's happening? And theoretically, it's half Chiefs fans, but like, Eagles fans are intense, obviously. Mm-hmm. They are here. They're going to be here more. And there's a lot of fun things about Super Bowl week, but watching the fans kind of invade the town, and everyone wears jerseys and colors all the time. So all you see is colors. It is really fun. And I think Eagles fans are going to take over this place. And, Super Bowl crowd is always odd because it's very corporate. But I would imagine much more green than red on Super Bowl Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd agree. Are you going to NFL Honors tonight, Ian?
I will be at Honors, actually.
All right.
I enjoy it.
I'll see you there. I'm going.
Nice. There you go. I'll say hello, and I'll be like, it's Tiki or
Rondé has a beard. He has a beard. You'll know.
A beard?
It's white, right? It's all gray.
Yeah, it's all.
Could be an interesting night. Are we gonna find out tonight, right?
We will find out tonight. Well, everybody else will find out tonight.
Yeah, exactly. yeah. It could be a good night. Ian, thanks for the stuff, man. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Ian.
All right, take care, guys. Enjoy the game.
No doubt. There you go, Ian Rapoport.